Welcome to the in-laws, the channel where cheaters get what's coming to them. The woman at the check-in desk glanced at the screen one more time, then looked up. Miss Morley, your ticket was cancelled 4 days ago. I placed my passport on the counter. Who requested the cancellation? The employee hesitated for a moment, checking the booking history. The request came from the account that made the original payment. Then, the seat next to Mr. Walker was rebooked under another passenger's name. I didn't need to ask who it was. Less than 2 steps away from me, standing next to my husband, was Alice Silver, a cream cashmere coat, her hair styled in a low bun, and in her hands, a freshly printed boarding pass. Her seat was right next to Daniel Walker. The silver Rimowa suitcase at her feet was the same model I had chosen for this trip. But it wasn't my suitcase. It was a new one Daniel had bought her this morning. Daniel calmly took his passport from the agent's hand. You knew about the ticket cancellation? I turned to him. I know, he said, that Alice just broke off her engagement, and she's in a fragile state. I'll spend these 7 days with her, and we'll go next year. He spoke as if he were just postponing a dinner reservation. I had been planning this trip for almost half a year. The glass igloo near Tromsø, a fjord cruise, husky sledding, a table at a Michelin-starred restaurant, even a photographer for a Northern Lights shoot. I had booked it all myself. This wasn't a spontaneous getaway. This was our honeymoon, which we had postponed for 2 years after our wedding. Alice let out a quiet laugh. Kate, don't blame Dan. It was my idea. We talked about chasing the Northern Lights back in university. It just never worked out back then. She held up her boarding pass. He was yours for 7 years. I'm just borrowing him for 7 days. I looked at her for a second, then at Daniel. He didn't deny it, even glancing at his watch. We have 40 minutes left. We'll talk when I get back. Forward the itinerary to Alice so she doesn't get lost. I laughed very quietly. Anything else you need? Daniel thought I had given in, and his expression softened. Where's the camera you brought? Alice loves photography. I unzipped my bag and took out my Leica. Alice's eyes lit up, but I immediately put it back. You have money? Daniel frowned. If you want to please her, buy it yourself. Alice smiled. It's just a camera. Yes, just one. I looked at her. So buy it yourself. The smile on her lips froze. Daniel tugged gently at my sleeve. Catherine, don't make a scene at Heathrow. Where am I making a scene? He fell silent. I turned back to the counter. Could you please print me a confirmation of the ticket cancellation and the time the booking was changed? The employee nodded. Daniel immediately looked at me. Why do you need that? For my records. What records? I took the paper, folded it, put it in my bag, and then called my solicitor, Mr. Victor Stevens. The call connected quickly. Mr. Stevens, the divorce papers I asked you to prepare last time? Shred the old version. Draft a new one, effective today. There was a 2-second silence on the other end of the line. Miss Morley, are you certain? I'm certain. Daniel reached out, about to snatch the phone. I took a half step back, dodging his hand. Catherine Morley. I ended the call. He lowered his voice. You're angry and talking nonsense. 8 months ago, you left our anniversary dinner because she called you to the hospital. Alice tried to speak, but I wasn't looking at her. That time, I made it very clear. I'm not forbidding you from helping an old friend, but if her problems ever take priority over our marriage, I will consider it your choice. Daniel remembered. I could see it in his eyes. That day, he had hugged me and said with a laugh that I was overthinking things. I continued, Today, you cancelled my ticket, bought a new one for her, and then stood in front of me asking me to send her my itinerary. You made your choice. Now it's my turn. The airport's PA system announced boarding for their flight. Daniel clenched his jaw. I don't have time to argue with you. Go home. I'll call when we get to Tromsø. He started to pull Alice's suitcase. Don't bother, I called out to him. He stopped. I took off my wedding ring and placed it on the counter next to his passport. You don't need to return the 7 days. From this moment on, you can keep him forever. Alice's face changed. Daniel turned completely around. Catherine Morley, I didn't wait for him to finish. You should go. She'll be feeling unwell again soon. I took my suitcase, walked away from the counter, and headed straight for the exit. Outside the terminal, I opened my booking app. The Arctic Glass Lodge. Cancel. Fjord Cruise. Cancel. Airport transfer. Cancel. Husky sledding tour. Cancel. Restaurant reservation. Cancel. Photographer. Cancel. Everything was booked from my account and paid for with my card. Half an hour later, my phone started vibrating non-stop. Alice had sent a friend request. The message was a single line. "Send me the itinerary, please. Don't put Dan in an awkward position." I hit decline and blocked her. Immediately after, Daniel called. I answered. His voice was icy. "You cancelled everything?" "Yes. Catherine, you know we land at almost midnight." "I know. No car, no hotel. Where are we supposed to stay when we arrive?" "Figure it out yourselves." "Catherine Morley." I cut him off. "You took her. You take care of her. Or were you planning to use your wife's money to create memories with your first love?" Silence on the other end. I heard Alice's voice nearby. "Stop it, Dan. We can just stay in a normal hotel." "I don't mind." Daniel immediately told her, "You don't need to be inconvenienced." I scoffed. Right. She doesn't need to be inconvenienced, so my 6 months of effort should just be handed to her. "Catherine, that's not what I meant." "Then what did you mean?" He didn't answer right away, and I didn't wait. "Don't use my efforts to complete your shared history." I hung up. 3 minutes later, he sent a text. "You've disappointed me greatly." I replied, "The feeling is mutual." Then I called my assistant. "Katie, could you send me the documents for the Northern Lights design competition final again?" She was surprised. "Miss Morley, did you change your mind? The day before yesterday, you said it clashed with your honeymoon and asked to withdraw from the final in Stockholm." "I know. Book me a flight in 3 days." I returned to our flat around 10 p.m. In the 2,200 square foot home, the lights turned on automatically. A vase of fresh flowers, replaced that morning, sat on the dining table. In the living room were the 2 empty suitcases I had planned to use for shopping on the trip. I went straight to the bedroom, took a large suitcase, and packed my clothes, laptop, studio documents, and the jewelry box my mother had left me. I left our shared belongings. The solicitor would sort out the joint assets. On Daniel's desk was the expansion plan for my design studio, which I had half-edited. In 2 years of marriage, I hadn't given up my career. I had only turned down many international projects because of his unpredictable schedule. But my studio in London still had 6 employees and 3 long-term clients. 8 months ago, the brand Aurelius Designs had invited me to join their European design team. I had declined because I wanted a stable life in London. Looking back, I only regret the time, not the man. I put the flat keys on the table. An hour later, Mr. Stevens sent the draft divorce agreement. I read it all, corrected 2 clauses regarding intellectual property rights and the share of capital I had once invested in one of the Walker Corporation's projects. I don't take what isn't mine, but I won't give up a single penny of what is. Closer to 10 p.m., my friend Olivia arrived. She opened the door, saw the 2 suitcases by the sofa, and breathed a sigh of relief. "Finally, you've decided to move out." I was disconnecting the hard drive from the desktop computer. "You say that like you've been waiting for this day." "For 8 months, to be precise. Ever since he ditched your dinner and ran to the hospital for her. I wanted to smash a wine glass over his head back then." I looked up. "If you'd actually done that, you'd be the one needing a solicitor." Olivia laughed. "You're making jokes, so you're all right." She followed me into the walk-in wardrobe. "Where are you going to live?" "In my mum's old flat, near the studio." "And the competition?" Olivia froze. "I'm going." She stared at me for a few seconds, then clapped her hands. "Now that's what I'm talking about." I zipped up the suitcase. "Don't get too excited. I'm going for the competition, not to catch them in the act." "I know, but imagine their faces when they find out you're in Stockholm too." "They don't have to know." Olivia raised her eyebrows. I showed her the confirmation email. "This is my business. Their business is for them to sort out themselves." The phone vibrated again. 12 missed calls from Daniel. A chain of messages. "I'll explain everything when I get back. Alice is just in a bad place. There's nothing going on between us. Don't make a mountain out of a molehill." The last message had arrived a minute ago. "Are you home yet?" I forwarded everything to my solicitor and turned off notifications. Olivia saw it. "You're not going to answer?" "There's nothing to answer. What if he comes back and loses it?" "I'm moving my things before he comes back." I opened the last drawer. Inside was a velvet box. Cufflinks I had ordered for our 2nd wedding anniversary. Olivia looked at me. "And that?" I closed the lid and put the box back in the drawer. A gift that wasn't given is still mine. If I don't want to give it, I don't. I called my assistant. "Katie, tomorrow morning, pick up a gift box from the top drawer of the dressing table and send it back to the jeweler. If they won't take it back, sell it." Olivia was silent for 2 seconds, then gave me a thumbs up. "Kate, You're serious this time, aren't you? I didn't answer, just zipped up the suitcase and set the box aside. The next morning, I moved into the flat near my studio. It wasn't even 10 a.m. when Daniel's mother called. "Catherine, I heard from Dan that you two had a fight at the airport." I was standing by the window with a mug of coffee. It wasn't a fight. Alice just broke off her engagement. She's in a bad way emotionally. They grew up together. It's only natural for Dan to look after her a little. You shouldn't make a big deal out of nothing. I interrupted, but my voice remained calm. "Are you aware that he cancelled my ticket for our honeymoon to buy a ticket for her?" There was a silence on the other end of the line. I only heard from him that the schedule had changed. "Are you aware that he also demanded I give her the hotel and car bookings and the itinerary?" She fell silent again. I said, "If you still think this is normal, then we have nothing to discuss." "Catherine, that's not what I meant. I've already passed the divorce case to my solicitor." "Divorce?" Her voice rose. "Over one trip?" I put my mug down. "I'm not asking for your consent. I'm simply informing you so it doesn't come as a surprise later." "Catherine, calm down. Dan isn't that kind of person. He and Alice have never. I don't need to prove he hasn't slept with anyone. That's not the only criterion for a husband." I hung up. 10 minutes later, Daniel's father called. I didn't answer. I left the rest to the solicitor. I had no intention of holding another family meeting. At noon, I arrived at the studio. Katie ran up to me. "Miss Morley, I thought you were taking a week off." "Plans changed." "The documents for the final, are they printed? The samples you sent earlier, have the organizers confirmed receipt?" I nodded. Before getting married, I had won a national award for young designers, after which I opened my own studio. For the past 2 years, I rarely appeared at events, but I never stopped working. 3 months ago, a professor had nominated me for the Northern Lights Award. I had submitted the documents for the first 2 stages myself, and was only going to withdraw from the final because it clashed with the trip with Dan. Now, there was no need to withdraw. I opened my laptop. "Clear my schedule for the next 3 days." Katie hesitated. "Are you all right?" "I'm perfectly fine." "In that case, I'll be honest. I think your third design concept was better than the one you chose." I pulled up a chair. "Show me." I worked tirelessly all day. In the evening, Daniel called from Tromsø. I wasn't going to answer, but Mr. Stevens texted, saying it was better to clarify the matter of serving the agreement once. I picked up. "What is it?" He was silent for a few seconds before saying, "You've moved out?" "Yes." I checked the hallway cameras. "Then why are you asking?" His voice grew lower. "Catherine, you're taking this too far. The one who cancelled the ticket was you. The one who took Alice was you. The one who told me to wait at home was also you. Where have I gone too far? I told you I'd make it up to you. I can take you next month. Daniel Walker, I have enough money for a plane ticket." He took a deep breath. "What do you want?" I looked at the design project on the screen. "I want you to sign." There was a long silence on the other end. "I can't sign." He seemed not to expect me to answer so quickly. "What did you say?" "If you won't sign, the solicitor will handle it." "Daniel, I'm working. If there's nothing else, I'm hanging up." He controlled his voice. "Alice and I have no relationship beyond friendship." "I know," he faltered. "I never said you were physically cheating." "Then why?" "Because 8 months ago, I set my boundaries. I said it once. You heard me, and you still did it." I glanced at the clock. "That's enough." I hung up. Not even a minute later, Alice posted her first update from Norway. Olivia sent me a screenshot. In the photo, she was sitting by the window of a new hotel. 2 glasses of wine were in front of her. The angle was such that Daniel's watch was visible on the table. The caption, "Some promises are 7 years late, but who's counting when they're finally kept?" Olivia wrote, "You need to reply." I replied, "No, save the original with the date and time." She likes to post, let her post. 3 days later, I flew to Stockholm with Katie. From the airport, a car provided by the organizers took our group of contestants straight to the workspace. I hadn't told Daniel. I also hadn't looked up his hotel address. I had no reason to tailor my schedule to the 2 of them. The final lasted 5 days. The theme was light in wintertime. The model I brought was structurally complete from my work in London. For the first 3 days, I spent almost all my time in the workshop, adjusting the materials and lighting scheme. Messages from Daniel kept coming. Day 1. "Where are you now? I'll be back and we'll talk." Day 2. "Your solicitor sent papers to the company. Are you this serious?" Day 3. "Alice says you blocked her. I don't want you two to turn this into a war. After reading it, I forwarded the last message to Olivia. She called immediately. A war? Who's at war with whom? I don't know either. He probably thinks I'm lying awake at night, plotting how to get him back. I put her on speakerphone, continuing to cut the model. Maybe you should send one message. Used goods are not eligible for return. A waste of time. Olivia laughed until she coughed. Only on the evening of the third day did I go out for dinner. Katie was looking at her phone while ordering. Miss Morley. Alice posted again. Don't read it. What is it this time? I looked up. She pushed the screen towards me. 9 photos. Daniel standing in front of a wooden cabin. Alice in a grey scarf. A photo of 2 pairs of gloves lying side by side. A photo of 2 people's shadows on the snow. The caption, "The person who was meant to be here is finally here." I looked at it for a few seconds and saved it. Katie asked cautiously, "You're not angry?" I am angry. But being angry doesn't mean I have to run to the comments and start a fight. I put the phone away. I'm at a competition. She's providing the material herself. Let her work. The next day, I gave my presentation. I talked about how light moves across the surface of the material, about the layers of glass creating a color-shifting effect, about the potential applications in commercial spaces. The head judge asked, "Have you ever done large-scale projects?" I have. Last year my studio was responsible for the experience zone for the Seasons retail chain in 3 cities. Then why has your name been rarely seen on the international market for the last 2 years? I answered directly. I consciously reduced my travel schedule. That decision is in the past. He nodded. No one else asked about my personal life. That evening, my work made it into the top 3. The results party was held in a hotel on the shore of a lake. I wore an ivory-colored dress I had bought for the honeymoon, put my hair up, and went down to the hall. Descending the stairs, I was talking to a representative from Aurelius Designs when I heard a voice behind me, "Catherine." I turned around. Daniel Walker was standing about 5 meters away. Alice Silver was beside him, looking me up and down. Her expression clearly changed. "Why are you here?" "I have business." "When did you fly in?" 3 days ago." "Why didn't you tell me?" I raised my glass of water. "Did I need to?" Alice laughed first. "Kate, don't tell me you followed us here." Several people standing nearby turned around. She was doing it on purpose. Dan said he was only coming with me for 7 days. "You're putting him in an awkward position." Daniel frowned. "Alice." She immediately changed her tone. "I'm just worried Kate will get the wrong idea." I looked at her. "Rest assured. What I need, I book myself. I don't need to follow anyone." Alice's face tensed slightly. At that moment, the head judge approached. "Miss Morley, I was looking for you." He shook my hand and turned to introduce me to the Aurelius representative. "This is Catherine Morley, the contestant leading on technical points this year." The woman from Aurelius smiled. "We've seen your studio's projects in London. After the award ceremony, will you have time to talk about a collaboration?" "I will." Daniel stood silently. Alice had also gone quiet. The head judge looked at the 2 of them. "Your friends?" I replied, "No." Daniel immediately looked at me. I pointed at him. "Almost ex-husband." Then I looked at Alice. "And she's the reason he's almost an ex." The air around us froze for a few seconds. Alice's face flushed. "Catherine Morley, do you have to be so crude?" "You asked about the relationship," I answered. She gripped her wine glass. "Whether you get divorced or not is between you 2. Don't blame it all on me." "I never blamed you. The person who has an obligation to me is Daniel Walker." I turned to him. "You're the one who needs to take responsibility." Daniel stared at me for a long time. "Let's go outside and talk." "No need. I'm at a party." He lowered his voice. "I don't want others watching our private life." "Then next time, don't air your private life in an airport for others to see." Alice scoffed. A little success, and she thinks she's someone else. I didn't have a chance to reply. She took a step forward. "You flew here to prove to Dan that you don't need him." "Alice, that's enough." Daniel pulled her arm. She shook him off. Perhaps the crowd's stares made her lose her composure. Am I wrong? If she didn't care, why would she show up at this specific hotel? Katie, standing nearby, spoke up. The hotel was booked by the organizers for all contestants. Alice turned. "Who are you?" "Miss Morley's assistant." Now even assistants are getting involved. She raised her hand, about to shove Katie's shoulder. I caught her wrist. "Don't touch my people." Alice jerked her hand. "Let go. Let go of me right now." She lost her balance. The wine glass tilted, and red wine splashed all over her dress. Her face immediately darkened. "You did that on purpose." She swung to slap me. I dodged, catching her other wrist in mid-air. Daniel yelled, "Alice." I looked her straight in the eye. "You want to hit me?" I pushed her hand down. She lunged forward again with her other hand, grabbing the shoulder of my dress. This time, I didn't hold back. The sharp sound of a slap echoed. Alice's head snapped to the side. The entire hall went silent. I adjusted the shoulder of my dress. "That was for the hand you just raised. If you ever touch me or my people again, I won't just hold your hand." Daniel immediately stepped between us, but not to protect me. Out of habit, he first turned to face Alice. "Are you hurt?" I watched this scene, feeling nothing but a sense of absurdity. He noticed my gaze and immediately turned around. "Catherine, I didn't mean to." "No need to explain." I picked up my bag. "You just acted purely on instinct. Keep it up." I turned to leave. He grabbed my wrist. "I didn't choose her." I looked down at his hand. "Let go." He let go but continued to stand in front of me. "I'm telling you, I didn't choose her." "Who agreed to cancel my ticket?" He was silent. "Who bought her a new one?" Silence. "Who brought her here?" His face hardened. "Who told me to wait at home?" I looked him straight in the eyes. 4 questions, and not one of them requires your explanation. The answer to all of them is you." Alice, standing behind him, said in a cold voice, "He just felt sorry for me." I turned around. "Even better. You won a man by making him feel sorry for you. Hold on tight." Her face went white. Daniel clenched his jaw. "Catherine, I am not an object for you to give away." "I agree. That's why I'm not fighting. You're free to go wherever you want. Divorce is my right." At that moment, the host invited guests into the main area. Katie ran up. "Miss Morley, they're about to announce the results. Let's go." Daniel called from behind. "Catherine." I didn't stop. 10 minutes later, my name was announced as the first place winner. I went on stage to accept the trophy. In the guest rows, Daniel stood at the back of the hall. Alice was no longer with him. After the ceremony, the Aurelius representative offered me a 6-month contract for a new project in London and Copenhagen. Position: lead creative consultant, with the right to choose my team and my own budget. "I'll read the terms. Give me 2 days." "Of course." The representative smiled. "We want you for your abilities. You have the right to think it over." I shook her hand. When I returned, Daniel was still standing there. He looked at the trophy in my hand. "Congratulations." "Thank you. You didn't say you made it to the final." "You didn't ask." His expression changed. "You were going to drop out of the competition for a trip with me?" "Yes." He was silent for a very long time. "Catherine, I'm sorry." I looked at my watch. Apology accepted. His gaze flickered. I continued, "The divorce is still happening." He froze. "I'm not apologizing, so you'll stay. I did something wrong, and I'm apologizing. Those are 2 different things." I handed the trophy to Katie. "Let me pass." This time, he moved aside. That night, back in my room, I saw a message from Daniel's mother. "Catherine, I found out about the plane ticket. Wait for Dan to come back and talk things over. Don't be hasty." I didn't reply. The next morning, Daniel intercepted me in the hotel lobby. He hadn't slept well. His shirt was slightly rumpled, his eyes red. "I've changed my ticket. I'm flying back with you." "As you wish." "Catherine, Alice's behavior last night was unacceptable. I told her clearly there's nothing between us. She won't bother you again." "Good." He looked at me. "Don't you want to know what I said to her?" "No." I walked past him. He followed. "I found out about the ticket cancellation." I stopped. "I know enough about that." "No, you don't know everything." Daniel held out his phone. On the screen was a chat history between Alice and her assistant. 4 days before the trip, she had asked the assistant to get the booking code from an email Daniel had once forwarded her to check flight times. Then she asked him if he could cancel my ticket. Daniel had replied, "Cancel it. I'll tell Catherine." The first 2 words were enough. I handed the phone back. I saw. She told me that if she stayed in London alone, she was afraid she wouldn't be able to cope. I know, but last night she admitted it was just a pretext. I looked at him. "And what do you want me to do?" "She deceived you, and you abandoned me at the airport." He choked on his words. "Daniel, her lying is her business. You knew how much I'd prepared for this trip. You also knew about the boundaries I set. You still agreed to cancel the ticket. I don't see a moment here where she held your hand and signed for you." He couldn't say anything. I pulled my suitcase, not making myself out to be a victim. I went straight to the car. That afternoon, I flew to London. Daniel had indeed changed his flight, but he was sitting in a different class and didn't approach me during the entire journey. At the airport, a car from the studio met me. Daniel stood a few meters away. "Let's go home and talk." "Which home?" He froze. "I've moved out. You know that, why are you asking?" "Catherine." I opened the car door. He held it slightly. "Give me a week." "For what?" "I'll sort out everything with Alice. How you sort things out with her won't affect my decision. If you want to fix things, fix yourself. I'm not obligated to stay and check your work." I closed the car door. That evening, Alice called from an unknown number. I recognized her voice immediately. "Catherine Morley, are you happy now? I'm having dinner. Be quick." She laughed coldly. "Dan has cut all ties with me. The project between Walker Corporation and my company has also lost his people." "Is that so? Don't pretend. I didn't ask for this. If not because of you, then who?" I put down my cutlery. "Alice Silver, haven't you got things mixed up? The person you deceived was him. The person you raised your hand to in the hotel was me. You're being avoided, so why are you calling me?" She gritted her teeth. "You've won. I'm getting a divorce." "Where have I won?" There was silence on the other end. I continued. "If your goal was to prove he'd ditch his wife and run to you, you've proved it. Congratulations. As for whether he'll marry you, ask him yourself." Alice laughed. "You think he doesn't love me? I don't care. I just want to remind you of one thing. Next time you want to test someone else's husband, don't use a company assistant to get information about personal bookings. It leaves a very ugly trail." She fell silent immediately. "What are you going to do?" "I don't need to do anything. I've saved what concerns me. How your company deals with you is their business." I hung up. 2 days later, a scandal did indeed break, but not because of me. Alice's ex-fiancé publicly stated the reason for their breakup. After being constantly hounded by reporters, he didn't go into detail, only confirming they had parted due to disagreements over boundaries in relationships. At the same time, the security department of the Silvers company investigated Alice's use of her assistant, company email, and work time for personal matters, which had caused her to miss an important meeting the week she was in Norway. The joint project she was overseeing was handed over to another vice president. Her signing authority on the project was also suspended pending the completion of an internal investigation. Olivia sent me a message. Karma got her fast. I was approving materials for the Aurelius project. It's not karma. It's the consequences of her professional decisions. Sounds less superstitious. She sent a laughing emoji. I signed the 6-month contract with Aurelius. My studio continued to run. The new project was a collaboration, not a job I had to drop everything for. After the news of my award was published in industry journals, many old clients returned. I was so busy that I only remembered my meeting with Mr. Stevens 3 days later. Daniel was also present. He sat on the other side of the table. In front of him was the agreement I had already signed. His solicitor said a few words about the assets, then got straight to the point. "Mr. Walker does not consent to the dissolution of the marriage." I looked at Daniel. "The reason?" He answered himself. "I don't want to get divorced. That's not a reason. I want to fix everything. I don't want to wait." He clasped his hands. "I only made one mistake." I laughed. 8 months ago, I warned you once. You remembered, so it wasn't an accident." Daniel said quietly. "I thought you'd understand her situation." "I understand. I just don't agree." Understanding and agreeing are different things. The solicitors on both sides were silent. He looked at me. "Can you really throw away 7 years just because of 7 days?" I pushed the agreement towards him. "No, I'm throwing away this marriage because you decided you had the right to dispose of my 7 days without asking me." He was silent. I pushed a pen towards him. "Sign it, and we'll sort this out quickly. If you don't, we'll go through the courts. Don't use refusing to sign as a way to drag this out." He stared at the pen for a very long time, then stood up. "I haven't signed yet." "As you wish." I stood up too. When we left the meeting room and were in the corridor, he followed. "Catherine." I stopped. "What else?" "I cancelled the booking for the Glass Igloo in Tromsø. I'm not going anymore." I'm also not in contact with Alice." "Good for you. You have nothing to say?" "What am I supposed to say?" Daniel suddenly took my wrist. Not tightly, but enough to make me uncomfortable. I looked down. "Let go." He didn't. "I'm talking to you." I twisted my wrist free, and I said, "Let go." He reached out again. This time, I intercepted his wrist and pinned it against the wall. A clean, practiced move. Daniel froze. I had been taking self-defense classes for 2 years when I had to travel alone for work. He knew. He'd just never seen me use the skills. I'm warning you for the last time. Don't you dare touch me. I released his arm. We're getting a divorce. His face darkened. Do you have to be so cruel? I'm just setting boundaries. You didn't respect them before. Now you learn. I walked away. A week later, Daniel's mother came to the studio. Her tone was no longer conciliatory like last time. She placed a box with our wedding rings in front of me. Dan asked me to give these to you. I don't need them. You don't want to keep them for memory's sake? No. She looked at me for a while. I apologize for last time. I thought. They grew up together. Helping out a little is no big deal. Later, when I found out everything, I realized he went too far. You accept my apology, but you still won't come back. No. She sighed. Dan's been practically living at the office these last few days. You don't see him, Catherine. He's truly realized his mistake. I pushed the box of rings back. Mrs. Walker, it's good that he's realized his mistake, but the reward for realizing a mistake shouldn't be my return. She fell silent. I asked Katie to bring some tea. Daniel's mother didn't drink it. Before leaving, she said, I always thought you had a gentle nature. I looked at her. I was just being polite. She froze, then nodded. This time, she didn't try to persuade me anymore. Daniel started sending flowers. The first time, I sent them back. The second time, I told the receptionist to refuse them at the entrance. The third time, there were no more flowers. He stood outside the studio all evening. Olivia came to pick me up, looked through the glass and asked, You're not going down? No. He's been standing there for almost 2 hours. I didn't ask him to. She smiled. We'll leave through the underground car park. I didn't meet him. A few days later, he intercepted me in the car park, this time keeping his distance. I won't touch you. Good. I just want to talk for 5 minutes. 3 minutes. He gave a bitter smile. You're even counting the minutes with me now. 2 minutes. 50 seconds. He started talking immediately. I'm sorry about the airport. I'm sorry for thinking you'd always be there waiting. I'm sorry for putting Alice's feelings above yours. What else? He choked. Why can you be so calm? Do I need to be crying for you to feel better? I looked at him. That's not what I meant. Say what you need to say. Daniel looked at me. I can take you to see the northern lights again. I stared at him for a few seconds. You still don't get it. Tell me. I wanted to go with you. Now, all I want is for you to sign. His eyes reddened. Is there really no chance? You had plenty of them. I opened my car door. Daniel Walker, 3 minutes are up. He didn't stop me. A month later, the first mediation session took place. I confirmed my decision was final. Daniel still wouldn't sign. Leaving the courthouse, he asked, Do you hate me? No need. Do you love me? Daniel, I looked at him. Don't ask questions that won't help. The next time, I hope we meet to sign the papers. I walked down the steps. Leo Fisher was standing by the car for the Aurelius project team. He was the architect in charge of the exhibition space. I was on my way to the site, so I thought I'd pick you up. He took the folder of documents from my hands. Finished? Not quite. Let's go to the meeting. Daniel was standing behind us. Leo didn't ask who he was. I didn't introduce them. Work was waiting. 6 months later, the Aurelius project in London opened. On the last day of the inspection, Leo and I had our first serious argument, not about feelings. He wanted to change the position of a curved wall because of the air conditioning system. I disagreed because it would disrupt the line of sight in the exhibition area. We argued for almost 20 minutes in front of the blueprints. Finally, he asked, Do you want to keep the wall? Yes. Then I'll change the route of the engineering services. It'll take another half day. I'll keep the construction team on. All right. Leo called the engineer back to remeasure the pipe route. The argument ended there. That evening, Olivia came to see the new space. She looked at Leo, who was checking the ceiling with an engineer, and whispered in my ear, That man is quite something. I'll hire you to look at the design. I'm looking at who you're looking at. Handsome. That's a kind of design too. I pushed her away. Stop talking nonsense. At that time, Leo and I were just partners. He knew I was getting a divorce because I once had to reschedule a meeting to see my solicitor. He didn't ask about the reasons. I didn't tell him. Daniel continued to drag things out until the second court hearing. This time he came early. No flowers. No gifts. The agreement was in his hands. I sat opposite him. He looked at me. You'll sign? I nodded. He held the pen for a very long time, but finally signed. Didn't throw the pen, didn't shout, just put it down. The flat is sold. Your share will be transferred by the solicitor according to the agreement. All right. The share of capital you invested in the Vantage project has also been separated. Woohoo. The rest of the things in the flat, do as you wish. He looked up. The cufflinks you ordered. I bought them back from the jeweler. I was slightly surprised. Then keep them. His lips trembled. Catherine. What else? I want to ask one last time. I waited. If I hadn't left that day at the airport, would we have ended up here? I looked at him for a few seconds. I don't know. He gave a very faint smile. You don't want to give me a nicer answer? No. I don't speculate about what didn't happen. But what did happen, I remember very well. He nodded. I understand. We left in different directions. Soon the documents were ready. I put them in a file drawer at the studio and went to work. In the afternoon, Leo brought me coffee. He put the cup in front of me. You can't go on like this. Thanks. Finished the morning's tasks? Finished. He looked at my face. Do you want to take the afternoon off? No need. We still have to approve the lighting at 4 p.m. All right. He pulled up a chair and opened the blueprints, not asking anything else. 2 months later, the project was completed. Leo invited me to dinner. I thought it was a wrap party, but when I arrived, I found it was just the two of us. I sat down. Where's the project team? They're not here. So, you're very direct. I wanted to invite you to dinner. Just us. I looked at him. Leo, I recently got divorced. I know. I'm not planning to rush into a new relationship. That's fine too. He called the waiter over. Let's eat first. I laughed. You're not disappointed? I am disappointed. Then why are you so calm? You said you don't want to yet. If I frown, it's not going to turn into a want to. That dinner was very ordinary. Afterwards, he continued to work as before, didn't bombard me with messages, didn't meet me or see me off without reason, didn't show that he was waiting and that I owed him anything. 3 months later, when I myself suggested we go to an exhibition, he only asked, this weekend? Yes. All right. The relationship started from there. I had my studio, he had his work. We were both busy. Once, I had to postpone dinner because of a client. I warned him in advance. He said, all right. Once, he had to fly to Edinburgh urgently. He called me before changing our weekend plans. That was all. A year after the divorce, I received a European Design Award for a new project. Olivia sat in the front row. Leo sat next to her. After the ceremony, as I was coming off the stage, I met Daniel in the corridor. He was attending as a corporate guest. We haven't seen each other in a while. He had lost some weight but looked fine, without that lost look he had in the beginning. Congratulations. Thank you. He looked at the award. I read your interview. Oh, the studio is opening a branch in Manchester next month. You're doing well. I know. He laughed. This time, without bitterness. You're still the same. I have to go. Catherine. I stopped. He looked over my shoulder. Leo was standing at the end of the corridor, not coming any closer. Is he good to you? He is. Better than I was? I frowned slightly. There's no need to compare. Daniel fell silent. After a moment, he nodded. All right. I walked towards Leo. He handed me my coat. Shall we go? Somewhere they have soup. Good for your throat. All right. We left. Daniel didn't call after me. At the end of that year, Aurelius invited me to Copenhagen to oversee the initial stage of a new project for 6 months. I accepted. Leo didn't ask me why I was leaving for so long. He just opened his calendar. The first month I'll be in Germany. I can come over on the 3rd weekend. You don't need to fit your schedule around mine. I have a project in Hamburg. It's convenient. And if it wasn't convenient, you wouldn't come? I laughed. The project in Copenhagen turned out to be busier than expected. Leo arrived exactly on the 3rd weekend. He rolled a small suitcase into the hotel. The first thing he asked was, "What are we eating tonight?" "I want to sleep." "Then sleep. I only flew here to watch you sleep. We'll eat tomorrow." I smiled. Winter came. The project was nearing completion. One day, I received an email inviting me to Finland to research materials for a new resort. Leo happened to be working on a project in Northern Europe. I sent him the schedule. "Want to go?" He replied in 5 minutes. "I'll go." We arrived in Rovaniemi at the end of December. We hadn't booked a glass igloo 6 months in advance, hadn't planned every hour. We just rented a car and stayed in a small hotel outside the city. The first day was a heavy snowstorm. The second day was thick cloud cover. On the third day, the forecast for seeing the northern lights was just over 20%. That evening, I was about to go to bed. Leo brought 2 mugs of hot chocolate. Let's wait another 40 minutes. I looked at the sky. All right. We stood by the car. About half an hour later, the horizon began to lighten. A thin green band appeared over the pine forest. I looked up. Leo got his camera from the car. Want a picture? No. He set up the tripod, set the timer, and stepped away. I stood in front of the snowy field. The camera started counting down. 10, 9. I turned my head. Leo was still standing out of the frame. Why are you over there? He looked slightly surprised. I thought you wanted a picture by yourself. I beckoned to him. Come here. He walked over, standing a half step away from me. I pulled his sleeve. Closer. 4, 3. Leo stood next to me. 2, 1. The flash lit us up. Behind us, the northern lights stretched across the sky. Leo looked at the picture he had just taken. He showed me the screen. It's all right. I looked. All right. Take another one. I looked up. The glowing band in the sky was getting brighter. I'm taking it. He adjusted the camera. I stood peacefully and waited. This time, he walked into the frame himself. When Andrew Scott brought Sarah's son to our new flat, I was standing in front of the mirror in my wedding dress. The door opened, and a pair of mud-stained children's boots stepped onto the brand-new white carpet. The boy was about 5 years old. His face was flushed with fever. He was clutching a plush rabbit with worn-out ears. Andrew put a small backpack on the sofa and bent down to untie his scarf. The movements were so practiced that I watched them for an extra second. Sarah's in hospital. You'll look after Mikey tonight. It wasn't a question, but a statement. I glanced at the wall clock. 10 days until the wedding. On the dining table were thank you cards for the guests, the seating plan, and 2 still unsealed boxes of wedding favors. Our wedding photo hung directly above the boy's head. I took the veil from my shoulders and placed it on a chair. What's his temperature? Andrew's face relaxed for a moment. He probably thought I had agreed. I haven't checked yet. He was shivering on the way here. I got the infrared thermometer from the first aid kit. 39.2 degrees Celsius. I turned and grabbed my coat. Andrew asked, Where are you going? To the hospital. Sarah's there. Perfect. His mother is there, so he's going there too. I picked up Mikey's backpack. His face changed. Eleanor, Sarah has acute gastritis. She just got put on an IV drip. If Mikey is clinging to her, how is she supposed to rest? I bent down to put the jacket on the boy. I'm a child development specialist. I'm not a night nurse for your ex. The child has a fever, so I'm taking him to a doctor. He blocked the doorway. I said, Just one night. Is it so hard for you to help just once? I looked at his hand on the door handle, then directly into his eyes. Hard or not, it doesn't matter. I do not accept you bringing Mikey here without my consent. Mikey, hugging his rabbit, looked up at us. The boy's eyes were full of fever and panic. I didn't say anything more in front of him. I called a taxi and took him downstairs. Andrew stood in the lift, his face as cold as ice. Do you have to make everything so ugly? I pressed the button for the ground floor. You brought your ex's child to our new home 3 days before the wedding, and now you're asking me if I need to make things ugly. He clenched his keys. Sarah has no one. She does. The child's father, relatives, the hospital, nurses, childcare services, social services. If none of them are available, there's you. I turned to him. But there isn't me. The lift doors opened. I led Mikey out first. In the hospital, Sarah was half sitting on the bed, eating porridge. She was wearing pale blue hospital pajamas, her hair down over her shoulders. Her face was a little pale, but not so much that she couldn't move. As soon as Andrew entered the room, she immediately put down her spoon. Andrew, why did you bring Mikey here? Her voice was so soft that even the nurse changing the IV drip looked over. I put the backpack on the table. Mikey has a temperature of 39.2. I gave him some water. I didn't give him any medicine as I don't know his allergy history. Now I'm handing him over to his mother. Sarah hugged her son, tears immediately rolling down her cheeks. Eleanor, I'm so sorry. I was in so much pain. I had no other choice but to ask Andrew. I thought since you work with children, you'd understand. I understand children. I covered Mikey's legs with a blanket. That's why I don't understand adults. The smile on her face froze. Andrew frowned. Ellie, Sarah just had an IV. Don't be so harsh. I looked at him, She has a stomach ache. I turned to Sarah. From now on, do not call my fiancé Andrew in my presence. Silence fell in the room. Sarah was stunned, tears still clinging to her eyelashes. We've known each other for years. I'm used to calling him that. Change your habits. Andrew lowered his voice. Eleanor Andrews. I picked up my bag. Even if you shout my name, it won't make my words untrue. The nurse turned away, pretending to adjust the IV drip. I looked at my watch. Tomorrow at 2 p.m. is the final fitting for the wedding dress. Andrew nodded reflexively. Whether you come or not is up to you. I walked to the door and stopped. But from today, I will not change a single item on the wedding schedule for Sarah's sake. I didn't wait for a reply. The next day at noon, the bridal salon called for a final confirmation. I was there at 2 p.m. At 2:10 p.m., Andrew wasn't there. At 2:15 p.m., my phone vibrated. He texted, "Mikey is crying a lot at nursery. Sarah was just discharged. She can't handle it alone. I'll pick him up and come later." After reading it, I showed the phone to the assistant who was altering the dress. Continue. The young woman hesitated slightly. "But Mr. Scott hasn't tried on his suit yet." "No need. Just save his measurements." She looked up sharply. I stood on the platform for the tailor to pin the waist. "Miss Andrews, is something changing with the wedding?" "Temporarily, no." I looked at myself in the mirror, but the groom himself is creating that possibility. At 3:10 p.m., Andrew finally arrived. He was still wearing the same grey sweater as that morning. A star-shaped sticker was stuck to his sleeve. I recognized the kind of stickers nurseries usually give as rewards. He was out of breath. Sorry. Mikey was crying until he was sick. The teachers couldn't calm him down. I raised my hand for the tailor to pin the rest of the hem. "Did the nursery call you?" He was silent for half a second. Sarah called. "Then how were you able to pick him up?" His gaze darted to the side. I looked at the sticker on his sleeve and didn't ask further. "Go try on your suit." Perhaps because I didn't argue, he let out a slight sigh of relief. He didn't know that what I had just realized was more unpleasant than any fight. A man can help an old friend once, but a nursery will not release a child to someone whose name is not on the list of authorized guardians. That evening, I sent him a message. "From today, if it concerns Sarah and Mikey, you use your time, your money, and your home to solve their problems. Do not use our new flat, the wedding schedule, or my work." He called back immediately. "Are you setting rules for me?" "Yes. Andrew, you're helping people in need. I drew the curtains in the living room, but don't do it at my expense." He was silent for a few seconds. "You've changed." "No." I looked at the wedding photo hanging on the wall. "I've just started saying no." 2 days later was the wedding menu tasting. Both sets of parents were present. At 11:30 a.m., the food was starting to get cold, and Andrew still wasn't there. Andrew's mother, Patricia, looked at her phone for the 4th time and smiled, trying to ease the tension. Andrew is busy at the company. Young people put their careers first. My phone vibrated. "Andrew." The nursery called. "Mikey is crying a lot. I'm going to pick him up. Eat without me." I placed the phone in the middle of the table. "He's going to pick up Sarah's child." The room fell silent. Patricia turned pale. Andrew's father, Robert, looked at her. "Is this business not over yet?" I turned to the banquet manager. "You can serve the dishes." Patricia quickly said, "Let's wait a little longer. After all, he's the groom. His being late won't affect the process." "Eleanor," I looked at her, "while he's busy playing the role of a parent for another family, let's not make the whole table wait for him to be a groom." Patricia's face hardened. 20 minutes later, the door to the private dining room opened. Andrew walked in, holding Mikey. Sarah followed behind, carrying a child's water bottle, wearing a long, cream-colored dress. Her hair was in a low ponytail, looking quite frail. The entire table stared at them. Andrew also realized the strangeness of the scene. The groom had brought his ex's child to his own wedding menu tasting. He put Mikey down. "Sorry, he was crying too much." I didn't look at the child. I asked him, "Did the nursery call you?" He faltered. "Yes." "Why?" Sarah intervened. "Eleanor, I forgot my phone today. The teacher couldn't find me, so..." I raised my hand. "I'm asking Andrew." She tensed. I looked directly at him. "Why does the nursery have your number?" No one was eating anymore. Andrew clenched his hands. "I left my number in case of an emergency." "In what capacity?" Andrew didn't answer. He took a deep breath. "As an emergency contact." I looked at him. "And your name is on the list of people authorized to pick Mikey up?" He was silent for a few seconds. "Yes." My mother put down her cutlery. Andrew's father stared at his son in disbelief. I nodded. I see. I called the wedding planner, Olivia Vickers, right in front of everyone. Olivia, please pause all payments that aren't due yet. Stop the decoration of our new flat as well. Andrew shot up. What are you doing? I hung up. In case of an emergency. His face changed. Patricia said hastily. Eleanor, it's a small family matter. Don't blow it out of proportion. I looked at her. You think it's small because the person being pushed aside isn't your child. My father stood up. Put on your coat. Let's go. Sarah hugged Mikey, her eyes red. Eleanor, I really don't want to affect you two. Andrew just feels sorry for Mikey, growing up without a father. I stopped. Sarah. She looked up. If he's missing a father, find his father. Don't borrow someone else's fiancé. Andrew frowned. You've said enough. I turned to him. No. I pointed at the child, who had his head down. And don't say things like that in front of him, as if he's the reason the adults are losing control. I walked out. That evening, Andrew came to the flat where I was living near my clinic. He stood outside the door for almost half an hour. I opened the door but didn't let him in. Say it here. He looked at me, a mixture of fatigue and irritation in his eyes. Do you have to make everything so complicated? I set the boundaries. Sarah just moved back to the city, raising a 5-year-old child alone. The child's father is an abusive man, deep in debt. She ran away. She has no one else she can trust. I don't need to hear her life story. Ellie, I want to help. I am helping. I leaned my hand against the doorframe. 3 conditions. 1. Do not bring them, mother and son, into our new flat. 2. Do not use my wedding schedule, assets, or work to help them. 3. If you remain Mikey's emergency contact, the wedding is off. He looked at me as if I'd said something absurd. You're making me choose. I closed the door halfway. I'm choosing for myself. He put his hand on the door. I'll sort it out. But don't throw away our 4 years over this. I looked at his hand. Move your hand. He slowly removed it. I haven't thrown it away yet. I'm just not using the past 4 years as collateral for the rest of my life. I closed the door. There was no knock, just silence in the hallway. 2 days later, Sarah brought Mikey to the clinic herself. I was reviewing files when the receptionist told me I had a visitor. When I came out, I saw her standing next to Andrew. I don't know why, but the scene made me scoff. He was late for the dress fitting, made the whole table wait for the menu tasting. But the moment Sarah said her child had a problem, he was always on time. Sarah had her arms around Mikey's shoulders. Eleanor, the boy has been twitching in his sleep lately. During the day, he doesn't want to go to nursery either. As soon as he hears an unfamiliar man's voice, he starts trembling. Andrew said your clinic is very professional. I handed her a registration form. Take a number. She was taken aback. Andrew said, Can't you just see him directly? I looked at Andrew. He avoided my gaze. I'm at work. I pushed the form forward. There's no priority for anyone's ex-lovers here. Sarah bit her lip. Andrew lowered his voice. Don't attack her at your workplace. I took the form back. Are you going to give me professional instructions now? His face tensed, and he said no more. When it came to the father's information section, Sarah's pen stopped. She left it blank. I didn't ask. After completing the paperwork, I handed Mikey over to a colleague responsible for the initial screening. I didn't conduct the assessment myself to avoid turning it into a conflict between adults. About 40 minutes later, my colleague brought the form to my office. The child has quite clear signs of anxiety. He constantly mentions a man who will take him away, but says he's never seen him. I asked who told him that. The primary guardian. I looked through the glass. Sarah was sitting in the hallway, Mikey clinging to her legs. Andrew was on the other side, holding the boy's water bottle. The 3 of them looked like a family at an appointment. I went out. Sarah, I need to clarify something. She stood up immediately. Is it serious with Mikey? It's too early to draw conclusions, but stop telling him that someone is coming to take him away. Sarah's face went white. Andrew immediately intervened. Sarah's just afraid the child's father will show up. I looked at him. I'm speaking to the child's mother. He fell silent. I turned back to Sarah. You can be afraid, but don't make a 5-year-old child carry your fear. Tears streamed down her face. Eleanor, you don't understand. That man is really very scary. Then report it to the police. Or find a solicitor. Ask for help to relocate if you need to. I paused for a beat. Don't turn Andrew into a substitute father for your child. Andrew's face darkened. Ellie, I can understand your anger. I pointed to the quiet please sign on the wall. But don't raise your voice here. At that moment, the receptionist ran up. Miss Andrews, there's a man at the door looking into the children's area, I asked, but he only said he wants to see Sarah. Sarah spun around. Behind the glass stood a man in a black jacket, in his early 30s, holding a document folder. He didn't enter. When he saw Mikey, his eyes quickly reddened. Sarah turned pale. She clutched Mikey so tightly that the boy cried out in pain. It's him. Andrew immediately stood in front of them. Who are you? The man didn't look at him. I'm Kevin. Sarah almost screamed. Why did you come here? Mikey started to tremble. I went over and loosened Sarah's hands on the child's shoulders. You're hurting him. She let go, but still pulled the boy close. Kevin remained standing outside the door. I didn't come to take him. He looked at Mikey, then lowered his eyes. I just want to know. Sarah cut him off. Shut up. Some parents in the corridor turned around. I told the receptionist, take Mikey to the far waiting room. Ask Mrs. Evans to stay with him. Sarah hastily held him back. No, he can't be without me. I looked at her. Then you go too. But no one should argue in front of the child. Andrew said, Ellie, this man is dangerous. I turned to Kevin. Do you have an appointment? No. Then you cannot have contact with the child today. Kevin immediately nodded. All right. Andrew frowned, as if not expecting him to back down so easily. I continued, if you have a dispute about paternity or visitation rights, find a solicitor. Do not harass the mother and child at the clinic. Kevin lowered his head. I've already contacted a solicitor. I only came because I wanted to see him once. He held out the folder to me, but I didn't take it. Send it to my solicitor. I understand. He withdrew his hand. Before leaving, he looked at Mikey one last time through the glass, then turned away. He didn't shout, didn't try to snatch the child. The more he behaved this way, the worse Sarah's face became. I'm not judging who is right or wrong, but I clearly remember one thing. The man called an abusive, debt-ridden deadbeat who abandoned his child. As soon as he appeared, agreed to stay away from the child when asked. And the one who constantly talks about protecting Mikey just hurt him by squeezing his shoulder in fear. That afternoon, Andrew called me. You are not to meet Kevin alone. I was signing off on a shift change. By what right are you ordering me? Sarah says he's very dangerous. Then let the police handle it. Do you have to be so cold? I put down my pen. And do you have to treat Sarah's words as law? There was silence on the other end for a few seconds. He lowered his voice. I just don't want you to get dragged into this. I scoffed. Andrew, the person who dragged me into this from the very beginning was you. I hung up. In the evening, the receptionist brought an envelope to my office. Sarah asked me to give this to you. Inside was a child's drawing of a house. In the house were a woman, a child, and a tall man. Outside the house was a woman in a wedding dress. On the back was Sarah's writing. Eleanor, I know you don't like me, but Mikey really can't be without Andrew. Please don't hurt the boy out of anger towards me. I stared at the drawing for a long time. Not out of pain, but because she had finally dropped the mask of not wanting to be a homewrecker. I took a picture of the drawing and sent it to Andrew. Take care of your family of 3. 10 minutes later, he replied, Sarah is just insecure. Don't overthink it. I opened my chat with Olivia Vickers. Olivia, please change the status from paused to cancelled for the entire wedding. The phone rang almost instantly. Miss Andrews, are you sure about cancellation, not postponement? Do you confirm that the deposit for the venue and some other items will be forfeited? Proceed according to the contract. I continued calling. The venue, the photo and video team, the florists, the car rental. I didn't speak for long. Cancellation, penalty, as per contract. Anything not yet done. Stop. On the third call, Andrew burst into my office. He walked straight to my desk. What are you doing? I held up a finger, motioning for him to be quiet. I finished my call with the florist. No need to save the sample for the bride's bouquet anymore. Thank you. I hung up. He leaned both hands on the desk. You're cancelling the wedding over a drawing? I'm cancelling because, after seeing that drawing, you're still defending the person who sent it. Sarah didn't mean anything bad. You know, she just... I stood up. Andrew, shut up. Don't explain for her. I took the keys to our new flat and put them on the table. The wedding is cancelled. His face went white. Are you out of your mind? The invitations have already been sent. Both our parents, relatives, friends, the company. What does that have to do with me having to marry you? He choked. And our 4 years? They happened. They just happened. I'm not using the past 4 years as payment for the next 40. He raised his hand, wanting to grab my wrist. I dodged. Don't touch me. His hand froze in midair. I haven't cheated on you. You still don't get it. I looked him straight in the eye. I don't have to catch you in bed with her to have the right to leave. Andrew, before you could even marry me, you were already living like her husband. His lips turned pale. Her child has a fever. You go. She's hospitalized. You stay. The nursery calls. You pick him up. She's afraid of the child's father. You shield her with your body. I pushed the keys towards him. If you want to be a good person, be one on your own time. Don't waste mine. He stood there, rooted to the spot. The sound of a child running echoed in the corridor. A staff member immediately reminded them to be quiet. I walked to the door. He shouted after me, "Ellie, I'll take my name off the nursery list. I'll stop all contact." I paused for a second. Do it or don't, that's your business. It's no longer a condition for the wedding. I closed the door. That evening, the family group chats on both sides exploded. Patricia called non-stop. I didn't answer. I sent just one group message. The wedding is cancelled. Any costs incurred will be divided according to our agreements and contracts. Any monetary gifts received will be returned. I will not publicly discuss the situation with Mikey. No one should use a child to explain the reason for the cancellation. My mum called later. Where are you? At my flat. Have you eaten? No. My parents arrived, not asking why, not trying to change my mind. Half an hour later, my mum put a plate of hot shepherd's pie on the table. My dad brought 2 empty suitcases. He said, "We'll pack your things tomorrow." I had eaten half the plate when my phone vibrated. Andrew had sent a long message. I didn't open it. My mum looked at me. Not reading it? No need. She put some more salad on my plate. Eat. The next morning, we arrived at the new flat. Andrew was already waiting downstairs. He had lost some weight in just 2 days, his eyes red from lack of sleep. Seeing my parents, he approached. Robert, Patricia. My father didn't reply. My mother held out her hand for the key. Andrew didn't give it to her right away. He looked at me. "Ellie, can we talk alone?" "No need. I just want to explain. Explanations won't affect the packing." My father just took the key from his hand. The door opened. Everything was as it was. The wedding dress in its bag, the wedding favors on the table, the photo on the wall. I took down the photo first. Andrew stepped forward. "Don't." I looked at him. "You want to keep it?" He couldn't say anything. I gave the frame to my dad. He took out the photo. I left the frame. My mum went to the bedroom to pack my clothes. I took inventory of the things we had bought together. Bedding, projector, desk. I didn't fight over them, didn't throw them out. What I paid for, I took. What we both paid for, I wrote down to be divided. During the process, Andrew's phone rang. Sarah lit up the screen. He immediately rejected the call. I continued taping up boxes. He stood beside me. "I've removed my number from the nursery." I told Sarah clearly not to call me about Mikey anymore. "Ellie, you have nothing to say?" I sealed a box with tape. "Yes." "Get out of the way." His face finally went completely white. My father, carrying a box past him, couldn't help but let out a quiet snort. My mother shot him a look. He immediately put on a serious face. When it came to the wedding dress, my mum asked, "Are we taking this?" I looked at it for a few seconds. "We're taking it." Andrew's head snapped up. I zipped up the dress bag. "But leave the veil." His gaze darkened again. I didn't care. By noon, all my things were packed. Before leaving, Andrew blocked the door. "I don't agree to ending it like this." I put my hand on the handle of my suitcase. "Your agreement is not required. I love you. You can continue to." He was dumbfounded. "I'm not obligated to reciprocate." I walked past him. This time, he didn't stop me. 2 days later, Kevin sent a document from his solicitor to the clinic, proposing a paternity test with Mikey, and asking if the clinic could provide a neutral space for subsequent support and interaction between father and child, if both parties agreed. I just passed the document to the relevant department. I didn't call Sarah, didn't call Andrew. That afternoon, Sarah came by herself. She intercepted me in the car park. "Eleanor." I opened my car door. "What is it?" She no longer had that frail look. "Did you put Kevin up to this?" "I don't have the time. He really used to scare me. You've only seen him once. On what grounds do you believe him?" "I don't believe him," she faltered. "I just absolutely do not believe you." Her face changed. I'm Mikey's mother. Yes. I raised him for 5 years. Yes. Then why are you helping a man who just appeared out of nowhere to take him away? I closed the car door and stood right in front of her. Listen carefully. I am not helping Kevin take the child. I am just stopping you from using Andrew and Mikey as 2 separate insurance policies. Her face began to pale. She said quietly, Andrew removed his number from the nursery and isn't answering my calls. Are you satisfied? I scoffed. You're asking the wrong person. Since the wedding was cancelled, I don't care who he belongs to or whose calls he answers. She stared at me intently. You really don't want him anymore? If you want him, take him. I opened the car door again. But don't drag your child into the transaction. She suddenly raised her hand, wanting to hold the door. On what grounds do you say I'm using my child? I brought up the drawing. Her hand froze in midair. I saved it. Are you going to say the child drew it himself? I looked at her. That's even worse. A 5-year-old child already knows to draw the man's bride outside the door, and his mother and himself inside the house with him. Sarah's lips trembled. I didn't teach him that. Good. Then you should be even more concerned about where he learnt it. I got in the car. She was left standing outside, unable to say anything more. The next day, Kevin arranged to meet Sarah in the clinic's mediation room. He didn't ask me to take his side, only asking if the clinic could provide an observer if the conversation touched on Mikey's psychological state. I declined to participate in a professional capacity, as there had been no full assessment, but Sarah texted me directly. Eleanor, if you don't come, I won't talk to Kevin. I looked at the message and immediately understood what she wanted. She wanted Andrew to stand by her side and protect her, and she wanted me to see it. I replied, I will come as a party involved in the cancelled wedding. Mikey will not be there. I arrived at 3 p.m. Andrew was already sitting next to Sarah. She was wearing a beige sweater, her eyes red, her hands clutching a paper cup. Kevin arrived a few minutes later with his solicitor. No one beat around the bush. The solicitor placed 2 copies of medical bills from the pregnancy, a history of bank transfers, and a printout of a 6-year-old chat on the table. Kevin said, That year, you got pregnant. I went with you to the doctor twice. Sarah stared at the table. Then I left for a month for training. When I came back, you said you lost the baby. He pushed the chat printout forward. 3 sentences. Very clear. The baby is gone. Don't look for me. I don't want to see you. Andrew looked down, his expression gradually changing. Sarah suddenly burst into tears. Why did you bring this up? Have you forgotten how poor your family was? Your mother said I was trying to marry up, that I was using the pregnancy to force a marriage. I was pregnant and scared every day that I wouldn't survive. Kevin clenched his hands. I know my family wasn't well off then. Not well off? She laughed through her tears. You call a rented room of less than 400 square feet not well off? Kevin didn't argue. I requested a transfer for work. I transferred you money. I said if you didn't want to live with my parents, we'd rent our own place. He took out the transfer history. The notes were very simple. Maternity expenses. Sarah slammed the paper cup on the table. What was that money enough for? I spoke for the first time. So, you did say the baby was lost? The room fell silent. Sarah turned to me. You haven't been through what I've been through. You have no right. Yes, I interrupted. I'm not judging you for leaving Kevin. I'm asking about you saying the baby was lost. Her face went pale. Kevin looked at her. Sarah, Mikey is my son. She didn't answer. Andrew put a hand on her shoulder. A very natural movement. I saw it clearly. Sarah leaned against him reflexively. Andrew, I really had no choice back then. Andrew lowered his voice. Calm down first. I scoffed. He turned around. What are you laughing at? Just seeing that I was right to cancel. His face tensed. Kevin wasn't looking at us. He continued. If Mikey isn't my son, we'll do a test and I'll leave. If he is my son, I won't take him from you. I'm asking for visitation rights, and I'll take on my share of the responsibility. Sarah immediately said, It's easy for you to say. Where were you for 5 years? Kevin turned white. You said the child was dead. You think I believed you? And what did you want me to do? For the first time his voice rose. Dig up the grave of a non-existent child to prove you were lying. The whole room fell silent. Sarah was speechless. Andrew still had his hand on her shoulder. After a while he said, You were both at fault for what happened back then, but the fact that Sarah raised the child alone for 5 years is true. I looked at him. What did you just say? He frowned. I said she was alone. Did you hear me? I nodded. The evidence shows that she, at the very least, lied to Kevin about the child being alive. Your first reaction is to find an excuse to cover for her. I'm not covering for her. Your hand is on her shoulder. Andrew's hand froze. Sarah immediately grabbed it, holding it tighter. I looked at the two of them. Don't let go on my account. He looked as if he'd been slapped. He immediately pulled his hand away. Sarah turned, disbelieving. I stood up. The test, visitation rights, and child support are a matter for you two and your solicitors. I looked at Kevin. Do not contact Mikey independently before an agreement is reached. He nodded. I looked at Sarah. And stop using the child to hold on to a man who isn't his father. She jumped up. I'm not using the child. I looked her straight in the eye. Who sent the drawing? She choked. Who put down the emergency contact? Her lips trembled. Mikey calls for Andrew every time he's scared. Who taught him that? Not me. Then you should be glad there's a specialist who can help find the reason. I picked up my bag. And stop using tears as an answer. She lunged forward, about to snatch the stack of photos from Kevin's hands. Kevin put up a hand to block her. Andrew reflexively stepped forward, shielding her with his body, so quickly that no explanation was needed. I looked at him. He looked at me. His expression changed from tense to panicked. I smiled very quietly. Andrew, you see? Your body is more honest than your mouth. He stood there, frozen. I walked straight out. He caught up with me in the car park. Ellie. He grabbed my wrist. I turned my head. Let go. He immediately released his grip. I didn't mean to. I know. It was just a reflex. I knew that too. I opened my car door. That's why it's over. He blocked the door. I will sort this out completely. As you wish. Is the wedding still possible? He fell silent. I enunciated each word clearly. The wedding will not be back. If you break up with her, it will not be back. If you prove your innocence, it will not be back. Because I cancelled the wedding, not because Sarah won. I cancelled because you are not worthy of being my husband. His face went white. I got in the car. Through the rearview mirror, I could see he was still standing there. On the day the wedding was supposed to take place, I went to work as usual. The hotel had placed a notice at the reception desk at the request of both families. Wedding cancelled due to personal reasons. Monetary gifts will not be accepted. Transferred amounts will be returned. Sarah's name was not mentioned, nor was Mikey's. My mother was at the hotel with the planners to deal with relatives. I had no intention of going. At 10:15 a.m., Olivia Vickers called. Eleanor, Sarah is here. I stopped writing. Alone? With Mikey. I closed my eyes for a second. Who else? Kevin and his solicitor just arrived too, but they're in the lobby. They say they only want to meet Sarah to hand over a document. I stood up. Get the child away from the crowd. I'm on my way. When I arrived at the hotel, there was already a small crowd in the corridor. Sarah was in an ivory-coloured dress. Not a wedding dress, but noticeable enough. She was hugging Mikey, her eyes red, constantly repeating that she only came to apologize. Andrew was standing in front of her. Why did you bring Mikey here? For the first time, I heard him speak to her in such a cold tone. Sarah was crying. I thought today was an important day. I just wanted to clarify in front of everyone that there's nothing between us. A few relatives exchanged glances. The phrase "nothing between us," said in the hall of a cancelled wedding, sounded even worse than silence. I walked over. My mother immediately took my hand. Why did you come? I'll get the child out of the crowd. Sarah saw me and immediately hugged Mikey tighter. Eleanor, I really didn't want to destroy you two. I walked straight up to her. Put Mikey down. She was taken aback. He's scared. Did he tell you that? I crouched down to the boy's eye level. Mikey, do you want to stand on the floor or have Mummy hold you? He looked at Sarah first. I didn't rush him. After a moment, he quietly pointed to the floor. Stand. Sarah still held on. I stood up. Let him go. Don't order me around. Mikey just said he wants to get down. Andrew spoke up. Sarah, put the boy down. She turned to him, a look of such surprise on her face that even a few people around noticed. In the end, she loosened her arms. Mikey, as soon as his feet touched the ground, ran to Olivia Vickers, who had given him water at the tasting. I asked Olivia to take him to the lounge. No one asked after him. Kevin and his solicitor approached after Mikey had left the corridor. The solicitor handed a document to Sarah. We propose conducting a paternity test at a mutually agreed facility. There is no demand to immediately take the child. No action to take him away here. Sarah looked at the paper, her face pale. She turned to Andrew. Andrew, say something. He stood silently. Andrew, this is between you and Kevin. She looked as if she had been slapped. You don't care about me? Andrew closed his eyes. I've interfered too much. Sarah suddenly turned to me. You forced him to do this? No. I looked at her. You're mistaken again. I'm the one who left him. Where he stands is no longer for me to decide. She started crying louder. You all want to take everything from me. I took a step forward. No one is taking Andrew from you. I'm returning him. A few people standing nearby immediately lowered their faces. Someone coughed quietly to hide a laugh. Andrew's face was a terrible sight, but he didn't object. I continued. And Mikey is not your property. He's a child. Whether he has a father, how he meets his father, let the responsible people decide. Sarah suddenly raised her hand. Perhaps she was going to slap me. I caught her wrist in midair. She tugged hard but couldn't break free. I looked her straight in the eye. Don't. Raise your hand again, and I'll call security. She flushed. I hate you. As you wish. I released her hand. But don't hit anyone. I turned away. A mutual friend of Andrew's, standing by the reception desk, saw me and decided to intervene. Ellie, Andrew just had a temporary lapse in judgment. You two have been together for 4 years. I looked at him. If you think bringing an ex's child to a new home, being an emergency contact, and skipping wedding preparations to take care of her is a temporary lapse in judgment, then I wish you meet exactly that kind of partner in the future. He turned red and immediately fell silent. My mother pulled my arm. Let's go. We walked out of the hotel together. Behind us, there was no sound of Andrew calling. The next day, Patricia came to my flat. She didn't call ahead. When I opened the door, she was holding a fruit basket and a small wooden box with a sapphire brooch, which she had previously said she would give me on my wedding day. I didn't take anything. Come in. Have a seat. She looked at the tidy flat and sighed. Ellie, about what happened yesterday. I saw everything. Andrew was wrong. I poured some water. Yes, she faltered, perhaps not expecting me to agree so directly. But you've been with him for 4 years. The wedding is already cancelled. I'm not forcing you to go through with it again right now. You two just live separately for a few months. Wait until he sorts out things with Sarah and her child. I pushed a glass of water towards her. She fell silent. I'm not separating to wait for him to sort things out. I've separated. She clutched the handles of the basket. Andrew is just soft-hearted. Then let him be soft with those who need him. Don't say that. He loves you. I looked at her. Patricia, would you want your son to marry a woman who says she loves him but drops him every time her ex has a problem? She didn't answer. The night before the wedding, he brought his ex's child. On the day of the dress fitting, he left. On the day of the menu tasting, he was late, became an emergency contact at the nursery. Even when she sent a drawing that shut me out, he still said she was insecure. I put my phone on the table without opening any photos. You all knew. Patricia's face turned red. She was silent for a very long time before saying, I'm sorry. I accept. But about the wedding, no. I answered immediately. She looked at me. In the end, she said nothing more. Before leaving, she placed the wooden box on the table. This was originally yours. I took it and put it back in her hand. Until we're married, it's not mine. Patricia clutched the box. Her eyes reddened, but she nodded. She had been gone for less than an hour when screenshots started appearing in our mutual friends' group chats. Sarah had posted a status, visible only to mutual acquaintances, without mentioning his name. She wrote that her child hadn't been able to sleep for days, kept asking if it was because of him that the bride wasn't getting married. She only hoped that adults wouldn't take out their romantic frustrations on a 5-year-old child. Below was a photo of Mikey's small hand clutching the old rabbit. One friend sent it to me with the question, Ellie, what does this mean? Before I could answer, 2 more wrote. Someone asked if it was true I had caused a scene at the nursery. Someone else asked if it was true I had pressured Andrew to stop being the emergency contact, causing the child to panic. I read everything, then called Andrew. He answered very quickly. Ellie, have you seen Sarah's status? There was a 2-second silence on the other end. I just saw it. I'll handle it. I'll tell her to delete it. That's not enough. My voice hardened. What do you want? She dragged me into this without naming me. I want her to publicly post a retraction, clearly stating that I never caused a scene at the nursery, never kicked Mikey out of any place, and never demanded you abandon the child in danger. Andrew was breathing heavily. Sarah is very unstable right now. I was silent for a few seconds. What did you just say? He realized it too. Andrew, I'm not going to defend her. I'm going to. I hung up. I didn't write a long post. I sent just one message to the group chat where people were already asking. I wrote, "I do not discuss children's matters online. Anyone who heard that I ever kicked out, scolded, or pressured the child, please ask the person who told you to provide the time, place, and witnesses. If there are none, please stop spreading rumors. The cancellation of the wedding is a decision between me and Andrew, not the responsibility of a 5-year-old child." Then I muted notifications. Half an hour later, Sarah called. "I'm listening." She started crying as soon as she opened her mouth. "Eleanor, I didn't mention your name. Why are you forcing Andrew to demand an explanation from me?" "I'm not forcing him. Andrew just came and said that if I don't explain, he won't help me with anything anymore. That's his business." She sobbed for a while, then her voice changed. "You've won. Isn't that enough for you?" I leaned back in my chair. "Won? What?" "He left me. His mother blames me too. And now Kevin has come to take Mikey away. You're mixing up 3 different things again. Andrew left you because he chose to. Andrew's family blames you for their own issues. Whether Kevin has the right to demand a paternity test is for the solicitors of both sides to decide. None of this is my doing." She started crying louder. "It's always easy for you to say. You have a job, parents behind you, a house, money. All I have is Mikey." I replied immediately. "Then take care of Mikey. Don't use him to hold on to a man." Dead silence on the other end. She gritted her teeth. "I never fought with you for Andrew. Then what are you explaining now? If you never fought, you wouldn't need to use a child's fear to make others think I'm bullying you both." She hung up. 20 minutes later, the old status disappeared. A new one appeared. Sarah wrote much less. "The wedding cancellation is not related to Mikey. Eleanor Andrews never made life difficult for the child during his assessment. Other speculations are a misunderstanding. She didn't apologize to me. I didn't need her to." That evening, Andrew texted, "I've sorted it out." I didn't reply. 3 days later, he came to the clinic. The receptionist asked if I would see him. I looked at my schedule. 10 minutes. He was sitting in the guest room on the ground floor. In front of him was a dark blue ring box. I sat opposite him. "Speak." He pushed the ring box towards me. "This was originally meant for you on our wedding day." I didn't touch it. He pulled his hand back. "Sarah and I were never physically intimate." "I know." He looked up. "You believe me?" "It doesn't matter. Ellie, the person I wanted to marry from beginning to end was you." I looked at him. "Then how were you someone else's husband?" He froze. "I wasn't. She's hospitalized. You take care of her. Her child has a fever. You pick him up. The nursery needs a parent. They call you. She's afraid of the child's father. You shield her with your body." I tapped the tip of my finger on the table. "You may not have slept with her, but you took a place in her family." Andrew lowered his head. "After a while," he said, "I was wrong." "Oh, I've removed my number from the nursery. Sarah has also agreed to do the test. I won't interfere anymore." You can change." "Good." He looked up, his eyes red. "Then give me a chance." "I don't need to." "You're still angry." "I'm not angry." He seemed to panic even more. "You're not angry?" "No." I looked at my watch. "Anger is when you're still waiting for the other person to change. I'm not waiting." He clutched the ring box. 4 years. Can they really just be thrown away? No need to throw them away. There were good times, there were bad times. I remember. He stared at me intently. "So, remembering doesn't mean going back?" I stood up. 10 minutes are up. He stood up too. "Ellie, from now on, don't come to the clinic to wait for me. There are children here. I don't want them to see adults sorting out their issues." He stood motionless. I walked out without looking back. Half a month later, the test results were ready. Mikey was Kevin's son. I learnt this from a document sent to the clinic with a proposal to provide a neutral space for the first meetings, if Sarah agreed. For the first meeting, Kevin arrived 20 minutes early. He sat outside the room, didn't bring any big gifts, just a box of Lego. Sarah brought Mikey. She had lost weight, was wearing no makeup. Andrew didn't come with them. Mikey, seeing Kevin, squeezed his mother's hand tightly. Kevin didn't approach. He sat on the carpet about 3 meters away from him and opened the Lego box. "You don't have to call me anything." Mikey looked at him. He pushed a red brick to the middle. "I'll just sit here." 10 minutes later, Mikey picked up another brick himself. He asked, "Are you going to take me away?" Kevin shook his head. "No." "Are you going to hit Mummy?" Kevin's Adam's apple bobbed. "No." Mikey looked at Sarah. She lowered her head. Kevin continued, "If you don't want to see me, you can say so." Mikey didn't answer. He put a red brick on the carpet. Build a house. Kevin lowered his head. All right. That time there was no dad, no scenes of hugging and crying. Just a child, sitting 2 meters away from a man, slowly pushing a brick towards him. Sarah stood outside the room and watched, her eyes red, but she didn't interfere. As I walked past, she called out, "Eleanor." I stopped. She asked quietly, "Do you think I deserve this?" "I don't care." She bit her lip. "I was just afraid of losing my child." "Then don't make him afraid of losing his mother." She lowered her head. I walked on. A month later, all wedding expenses were settled. Andrew's family took on the larger portion of the lost deposit, as Andrew's side had repeatedly changed the schedule, contrary to the original agreement. I paid my share, exactly as billed. No one demanded compensation for emotional distress. No one dragged each other to court over a few items in the new flat. Andrew sent the final settlement via courier, along with the key. On the back of the sheet were just 4 words, handwritten. Flat returned. Sorry. I filed the sheet away without replying. On Friday afternoon, I returned to the flat one last time to pick up a professional certificate I had left in a wardrobe. The building management let me in. The flat was almost empty. The wedding photo was gone. The carpet rolled up. A small scratch remained on the dining table from the move. I took the certificate, 2 books, and an old photo frame. The photo was of the day Andrew and I first saw this flat. I took the photo out of the frame, tucked it into a book, didn't tear it, but didn't look at it either. As I approached the door with a box in my hands, the lift opened. Andrew got out. In his hands was a takeaway bag from a Chinese restaurant I used to like. He stopped. "I thought you weren't coming back." "I forgot a certificate." He looked at the box. "I bought food. I've already eaten." "This restaurant, you used to." He fell silent. I walked past. He said to my back, "I'm not in contact with Sarah anymore." I stopped, but didn't turn around. No need to report to me. I just wanted you to know. What I know doesn't change anything. He took a step forward. I turned around. He had lost weight, stubble on his chin, his eyes tired. If this had been before, I might have asked if he had eaten. Now, I looked for 1 second. "Andrew, it's good that you've changed, but it's not a reward for me." His eyes reddened. "I still don't want to lose you." "You already have." The lift behind me opened. I stepped in. Andrew didn't block the door, just stood outside and watched. The doors closed. Downstairs, my mum was waiting in the car. She opened the boot and took the box from my hands. "Is that everything?" "Everything." "What shall we have for dinner?" "Dad's making a shepherd's pie." I got in the car. My mum started the engine. My phone vibrated once. Not Andrew. It was Mrs. Evans from the clinic, sending a photo of the schedule for next week. "Monday, 3 new appointments." I replied, "Noted." The car drove out of the residential complex. I didn't look up at the higher floors. "Thank you for staying with the in-laws until the very last minute."